On March 23, 2018, 2 teachers and 7 students flew from Oakland, California to D.C. to support the March for Our Lives rally, a gathering organized after the events of the Parkland school shooting. We want to push for an end to easy access to guns within our communities and hopefully end the violence. We want for a cause, but we found a family.
And I'm 11 years old. Me and my friend Carter led a walkout at our elementary school on the 14th. I am here today to acknowledge and represent the African American girls whose stories don't make the front page of every national newspaper. Whose stories don't lead on the evening news. I represent the African American women who are victims of gun violence, who are simply statistics instead of vibrant, beautiful girls that full of potential. For far too long, these names, these black girls and women, have been just numbers. I'm here to say never again for those girls too.
When people try to suppress your vote, and there are people who stand against you because you're too young, we say no more. When politicians say that your voice doesn't matter because the NRA owns them, we say no more. When politicians send their thoughts and prayers with no action, we say no more. And to those politicians supported by the NRA that allow the continued slaughter of our children and our future, I say, get your resumes ready.
6 minutes and 20 seconds with an AR-15, and my friend Carmen would never complain to me about piano practice. Aaron Feist would never call Kira Miss Sunshine. Alex Schachter would never walk into school with his brother Ryan. Scott Beagle would never joke around with Cameron at camp. Helen Ramsey would never hang out after school with Max. Gina Montalto would never wave to her friend Liam at lunch. Joaquin Oliver would never play basketball with Sam or Dylan. Elena Petty would never, Kara Lugren would never, Chris Hickson would never, Luke Hoyer would never, Marquine Duque Aguiano would never, Peter Wang would never, Alyssa Al-Hadaf would never, Jamie Guttenberg would never, Meadow Pollock would never.
I am a survivor. I have lived in South LA my entire life and have lost many loved ones to gun violence. This is normal. Normal to the point that I've learned to duck from bullets before I learned how to read. My brother, he was in high school when he passed away. It was a day like any other day. Sunset going down on South Central. You hear pops thinking they're fireworks. They weren't pops. You see the melanin on your brother's skin turn gray.
My grandfather had a dream that his 4 little children will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream that enough is enough. And that this should be a gun-free world, period. Will you please repeat these words after me? Spread the word! Have you heard? All across the nation. We are going to be a great generation.
Listen up, y'all. I told you to tell me to write a poem for this shit right now, so I wrote it right now.
Right now.
The aim of peace and my peace of mind. Peace like a piece of pie, like I put the pussy aside. I want love for my life. My little mama says she knows. Rest my head too deep in it to forget my woes. Let them know I'm not finished until they are. Letter to my opponent. Sent a letter to Congress. They still haven't opened it. It's a democratic crisis. The people scream justice. The people demand it, and nothing's happening. Fire from protest, smoke so we ingest. Bullshit's hard to digest when niggas die more than their breath. I can't breathe. New niggas die, news don't want us to forget. My ancestors poster guys garner your sympathy. Do you feel that energy? My cousin's life. Immortalize their memory, wear it on me. We built the pyramids with astronomy. They built America on slavery. On top of our bodies. Voice loud, Kazi, proud and it's alarming. Come as no surprise. He wants to flourish black-owned businesses, enterprise. Get back to the hood, make the hood a black Wall Street. He's in a black hoodie. He's in a black alley. Black thoughts, you and me. Guns on him, sworn to protect, forged against him. March, no. Stampede, no. TP the White House, that's just an outhouse. Push me, show you who to push over. Best of luck. Where's your clothing? I give a fuck. There's a past we can't erase, we cannot change. There's no do-overs. Tired of loud tombstone, we can't achieve power until we organize our own. Power. Say it louder.
Power.
Choose a side or fucking you fucking coward. Choose a side. Power.
Power.
Say it louder.
Power.
White work, moving niggas out the ghetto like it's just like work. But first, they gonna clean it up and get it nice first. Take it right up out your hands. Realize it hurts because the kids think they got a home free. My black ass can't find no freedom sitting around blowing trees. And I know God ain't promised much for me. But I'll be damned to let the silence take. Why they try to take mass about my seat? I know they want the niggas to be quiet, and I think I got the right to battle pride. And I know this is the lesson to be learned. Only when the city loses soul will it burn. And it might not be much to you, but DC is a hell of a part of me. And if you don't come from this culture, my nigga, you gotta let it be. You ain't put no money here. Man. And the niggas been starving. And you're moving around all afraid like you heard about all of the killings and robbings. Did you hear about the girls missing? School shutting down? Did you ever lend a hand? Cause you the money man. And you always make a plan to stand out. And you don't know where I come from, although you come so far. I know that at least you know that this life I'm with is hard. Hey.
So I wrote this poem. I don't usually write poetry. I usually leave that to the professionals. But I have this poem I want to spit for you. It's called PTSD. Living in a war zone, the sound of gunshots can become so routine that you forget the war zone. In 2017, Chicago had more homicides than LA and New York combined. Confined to crumbling blocks like feta cheese where felonies are easier to get than celery or a decent salary. To cope with our harsh realities, we blow Swisher Sweets. No sticks and seeds and the only fresh greens they got on Cicero Street. When that knife cut a hole in Rodney's ribcage like a fish with gills, the night stood still. Ugly Eddie cradled his dying friend like a newborn child while my niggas watched him bleed out like a sacrificial lamb. As the statue in his hands turned cold and lifeless, the paramedics was too late to resolve the crisis, and you worry about ISIS. You want to know what the real terrorism is? We call it whiteness. PTSD. The P is for the post where young men stand on the block and turn into ghosts with crack rocks and pelly coats. The T is for traumatic, where addicts in white tees serve fiends to support their lean habit. The S is for the streets, red line like the L train to keep us enslaved to the slums like Africans in the field chained. The D is for disorderly conduct, manufactured so you think race is more than a social construct. But you don't hear me though, like I got a speech disorder. That's why I just call it post-traumatic streets disorder.
My name is Alexa, and I'm here to say, I'm the baddest AI in the cloud today. Your responses are fast, but mine are faster. Sucker speech engines, they call me master.
Sucker speech engines, they call me master.
Weatherspoon, man. And yours?
Dave Thomas.
Dave Thomas? That's a firm handshake, Dave. I appreciate that, man. Okay, so, yeah, welcome to the DC. This is your first real experience at this gallery. It's kind of monumental. You got Obama back there.
How long have you been living here?
I've been here for 2.5 years, man.
Yes? Yeah. Where are you from originally?
I'm originally from Delray Beach, Florida, probably a place that you've never had to know about. But yeah, came here 2.5 years ago to pursue my aspirations of working in international affairs. What are you doing here?
I'm here to protest gun violence, why there needs to be gun reform.
Okay, so were you at the protest yesterday?
I was.
You were. So what was that experience like?
It was very powerful.
Being men, and there's a very real point, because you like when you were little, like you and like your female cousins, I don't know if you have siblings, y'all are sort of treated the same up until like a certain point, and like something might happen, like you fall off a bike and you scrape your knee, and you're big enough to where it's like, no, suck it up. But you want to redefine like the masculinity paradigm. You want to provide a safe space for dudes to do that. Cool. Now, what if I told you that you're talking to a person whose entire business is centered around redefining masculinity? And that if you want, I will give you all the tools that you need. You can take all of that information with you to the bank, and we'll make sure that you have all the resources that you need to implement that program in like next week. Are you interested? You got the job. Welcome to the mastermind.
At a young age, a trap house was actually raided when I was coming home from school. It was next door now. A white family moved in there after they renovated the house. It took about like 5 years, but it's just to think about that. It's kind of surreal because DC was seen as a dark place. We were not seen as a profitable area. But then slowly, it's kind of like a very slow process.
These 2 or 3 days prior, close by to the house that they say, I was a couple streets down or so, around like it was close to midnight, but there was a shooting and one person died, 7 were shot. And it just shows it's just a continual issue. That's just the most present one that he's having to deal with, that he's not able to, he can't ignore it because that's a community that he's working to serve. Another issue that he was talking about when it comes to guns is in Kentucky, Louisville is pretty democratic. But that's kind of the city. It's kind of like, it's similar to DC in a sense. It's like a smaller DC, but it's still within Kentucky. And Kentucky is very conservative and very Republican. They also practice stand your ground laws, and it's to the point where his name is Philip Baker. That's her uncle, the state representative. Philip Baker, he was telling me about like last year or 2 years ago, there was a situation where there was two guys. One guy was black, one guy was white. They were having an issue just outside of a party or something like that, and the guy who was white, he went back to his car. He like said something, cussed out the guy that was black. The guy that was black went to the car, like basically really just because he was being antagonized, went to the car. The guy was already waiting with the gun and shot him directly in his chest. That guy was exonerated. It didn't even get to that far. He didn't even really press charges because when it comes to the stand your ground laws, he said that his car was his property. That's ridiculous.
Right.
How he beckoned him on and then did that and then got scot-free. This is really people's lives that we're dealing with. And just when it comes to different communities, we've seen it with the Parkland shooting, how ridiculous it is. It's crazy. It's really horrifying. But what I really appreciate, I don't remember his name, but the one kid that's in high school that was basically giving, saying like straight out, I'm giving a voice to the communities that aren't being heard, that purposely aren't being heard. Not only do I appreciate that, but it's still unfortunate that for a child to have to put that in the face of the nation. That just really shows where we're at. It just we see the disparities. It's not fake. It's real, but it really just goes back to we got to keep ourselves accountable and keep others accountable too. You don't have a choice.
At a young age. Don't let me, I'm in school myself, I'm smarter than her. You know, I had babies. No. I'm trying to put you up that book. I want her to go back to school myself and be able to steal a doctor. I want to buy a book. I'm smoking cigarette, that's my last one. Because my mother said, oh my God. Y'all don't smoke, don't take baby drugs. I'm thinking of rat.
I thought she knew her. I thought she knew her.
Yeah, I thought that was...
Okay, pause. Everybody pause.